What's up, guys? It's Summer Siren, and today we're here to finish off my reaction to the archaeology iceberg explained by 3D Explainer. And if you guys are new to my channel, welcome. If you guys don't know what I'm about, I'm just a guy making YouTube videos and having fun. And well, yeah, let's get the rest of this video started. Oh, I almost forgot. If you guys want to see my other reactions, just head to my channel, and then you can watch my other videos.
Kings of Earth refers to a rather obscure fresco.
I think I meant watch the other part one and part two of this video that I'm
At
watching.
the Umayyad Caliphate site of Khuzra Amra. It is said to
I got this whole YouTube thing pinned down.
depict the six kings of the world, known at the time. The fresco is very damaged, so it's hard to say who all of them would have been. But of the ones we know, there was the Visigothic king of Hispania, Roderick, the Negus of the kingdom of Aksum, Najashi, an unnamed Byzantine emperor, and an unnamed Sasanian emperor.
Like, by the way, if you guys totally forgot what this was about, this is just him like talking about archaeological things that like people generally don't know about, like the iceberg. The more deeper you go, the less people will know.
The identity of the last two kings is a subject of much debate, but they are speculated to be a Chinese emperor and a king of India, but this is still very much conjecture. Bronze Age crop top. This is a reference to the Ektved girl's well-preserved clothing. This Bronze Age girl was buried in a wooden coffin in what is now Denmark. Her surviving 3,400-year-old clothes consist of
Bronze Age, 3,000 years. Wow. I wouldn't expect like clothing like clothing to survive at all. Like any like material like any animal material or plant material will survive that long. That's actually
a
amazing.
loose bodice that left her waist bare and a short string skirt with a large decorative disc. A bit of a Bronze Age waifu. Arabic coin for the Pope refers to a rather unique gold coin minted by the English king Offa of Mercia in 774 AD. The coin appears to have been a blatant copy of a coin struck by an Islamic caliph, with the words Offa Rex awkwardly added in. The engraver who produced it tried their best to copy the original Arabic inscription, but obviously had no understanding of the language, so the text contains many grammatical errors and typos. Why this bizarre coin was made in the first place is unclear, but
Hmm.
one theory posits that it was a gift to the Vatican Pope, which is kind of funny when you realize that the Arabic letters on it read, "There is no God but Allah alone." I'm guessing that
What?
probably wouldn't have gone over well with the Christian Pope.
But isn't like what?
Medieval panties. In 2008, archaeologists discovered a secret chamber in Langberg Castle, Austria.
What's so
Inside
weird
was
about
a hidden
panties?
stash of clothes dating to around the 1400s. Among these garments were some of the best preserved medieval underwear, including 4 linen bras. This was a bit of a surprise, as it had been previously thought that female bras like these, with 2 separate supportive cups, wouldn't be invented until much later in the Victorian era.
Wait, then what did people wear back then? Then, like, if people didn't. Oh right, corsets were a thing.
Discovery provided, I quote, a missing link in the history of women's underwear. Also,
A missing. I I would have never thought like a phrase like that would be used in that context.
it is pretty funny that the linen panties found in the chamber probably belonged not to a woman, but a dude. Hey, I get it.
I
I'm more of a breach
I have no words
guy myself.
except. Ugh.
Hair gel. The Cloney caveman is a well-preserved Iron Age bog body found in Ireland. Analysis of his body showed that the man liked to style his hair using tree resin as a primitive type of hair gel. Coffee.
I mean, hey, if you want to style your hair, like people will use almost anything. I've actually I'm here. Actually, you know what? Talking about gel, I'm actually wearing a bit of gel right now. Combed it right back. As I was saying, like people will use anything to comb their hair over. Like water, gel. I have seen some people use mayonnaise. It is a bit disturbing, as I have never seen anybody use it before. Like use that on their hair before. It's just kind of odd to me. And yeah.
Coffin juice. When the so-called Black Sarcophagus in Alexandria, Egypt was opened in
Oh, I remember
2018,
this one.
news outlets reported that it was filled with bones floating in a soup of red dark sludge. The story and its accompanying photos quickly captured the attention of the public.
It
In
was
maybe not the
sewage.
best of ways, many online petitions circulated around demanding that the archaeologists allow people to drink the coffin juice. The
We we need to drink the red liquid from the dark sarcophagus.
juice in the coffin was actually sewage from Alexandria's
Sewage.
underground
See,
drains. So it is
I
in
mean, you could just do that, like just going to your like local like sewer or something like that, or drink your toilet water.
my humble opinion that you probably shouldn't drink it.
Probably not.
Pre-contact dogs. Prior to European contact, the indigenous peoples of North and South America had their own unique dog breeds,
Oh, it's a little fluffers. It's a
found
little
nowhere
fluff.
else in the world. However, aside from Chihuahuas and a handful of other breeds, all these dogs became extinct after European contact,
Oh,
likely due to disease and competition with European
oh, it's a
dogs.
little
I
puppers.
also did an entire video on
I
these
like
guys, so
dogs.
check that out. Boskop Man. In 1913, the fossil remains of a prehistoric human were discovered in South Africa, and according to anthropologists at the time, it apparently had a massive brain. The Boskop Man, as it was later known, had a calculated cranial capacity between 1,700 and 2,000 cc's. By comparison, the average human today has a cranial capacity around 1,400 to 1,500 cc's. Now, re-examining
Maybe losing my
story, it is
mind.
hard to ascertain the truth of this claim. The fossil was highly fragmentary, so I would chalk this unusual cranial capacity to researcher.
What is that sound? Whatever. I'll just ignore it. Like it sounded like a phone ringing, although not like any ringtone I've ever heard though. That's that's strange.
Error. Olmec heads were actually thrones. It appears that at least some of the famous Olmec heads of Central America were not, at least originally, meant to be heads.
Hmm?
At least two of the colossal craniums show the unmistakable signs of being recarved. They originally seem to have been stone chairs or thrones prior to being resculpted. Star Wars archaeology. For decades, people have been searching in some of the most remote parts of the globe, not for the remains of a lost civilization,
Mm-hmm.
but for artifacts from a galaxy far, far away.
Please don't let this be like an ancient aliens like thing. Please don't.
You see, after filming the iconic Star Wars film franchise, the behind the scenes crew for several of the movies apparently just left many of the original props
Oh, okay. That's way better. There's a car alarm going. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is one. How convenient. Like it could have happened any week. A car alarm could have gone off. It only goes off when I'm filming. You know what? I'll just ignore it. Just keep
at
filming.
their filming locations, where they sat abandoned for years. Enthusiastic movie fans have tracked down several of these artifacts, from the charred ruins of Uncle Owen in Aunt Beru's house, to the fiberglass skeleton of the Krayt dragon in the deserts of Tunisia,
That's cool.
to the fragmentary wreckage of Jabba's sail barge in Buttercup Valley, Arizona.
Oh wow.
Unfortunately, many of these unique pieces of film history have either been destroyed by the elements or scavenged by locals and resold to private collectors. The Stain. There was once an ancient Greek statue called
Oh,
the
I know about
Aphrodite
this
of
one.
Kindos. It was supposedly so attractive and lifelike that at night young men would sneak into the temple that housed it and, let's just say used it inappropriately. According to legend, this happened so often that over time a dark stain became visible on the statue. Now, we can't verify the truth of this claim because although we have numerous Roman copies, the original statue has not been found, and most likely it never will. But who
I was just thinking like those old like those old like dirty magazines like
the statue and its possibly legendary stain might still be out there.
thank God for internet.
Boba Fett Mayas.
Why would I say that? What am I doing? I'm gonna edit that out.
The helmets of Mayan ritual boxers look a lot like Mandalorian helmets from Star Wars. These boxers use giant spiky conch shells as boxing gloves in their very bloody sport. The Boiler Boys. There is an obscure and ancient grave in what is now Germany that commemorates two brothers named Saluda and Regrethro. They were Persian cataphracts, or heavily armored knights. Soldiers like these were often demeaningly called Boiler Boys because they tended to boil in the sun under all that metal plate. These
Oh,
particular Boiler Boys apparently fought on the Roman side against barbarians in Germany, circa 235 AD. The two brothers appear to have originally come from all the way in Mesopotamia and served under the Sasanian king Ardashir. They were likely mercenaries who sold their services to whoever needed strong fighters. Under Ardashir, they might have traveled as far as the Indus before serving under
whoa!
Rome in the defense of its borders on the Rhine.
It's kind of amazing, like how like like how people back then like could really get around. Like it took a long time, but like people got around. Like they got from point A to point B. Like people think, oh, it's too slow. They can't like that's not possible. But like obviously they did. Like people were traveling around. Like people always think like back then people just stayed in like their hometown or village or city and just stayed there. But people really got around.
This simple grave, in truth, tells the story of two brothers who traveled the
That's
whole
impressive.
width of the known world together and fought in dozens of brutal and bloody battles, only to die in a swamp so far from home and fighting for an
Mhm.
empire they probably didn't particularly care for.
Yeah. Aha, part 8. Let's go.
Fun times in Pompeii. This refers to an image of a cast belonging to a man killed in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD, originally uploaded on Pompeii's Instagram. That sounds super weird when I say it. This image started to circulate online with people claiming that the man was having a fun time the moment he died. As
Hey, I mean that's a way to go out, like go out on your own terms. Like
it turns out, no, he's not giving it one last stroke before then. The man probably just ended up in this position because his arms and legs flexed after death due to the intense heat of the volcano's pyroclastic flow.
I see.
Sweet potatoes. The common narrative we are taught in school is that North and South America and their native inhabitants were isolated from the rest of the world for tens of thousands of years, and it wasn't until Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic Ocean in 1492 that this isolation was broken. However, something is overturning this view. Something you wouldn't expect. Sweet potatoes.
Potatoes.
Sweet potatoes are a crop native to the
Potatoes.
Americas and were cultivated by Native Americans for many thousands of years.
Mhm.
Interestingly, though, archaeological evidence has shown that sweet potatoes were being cultivated in some of the very distant Pacific islands since the 1000s AD. Polynesians on the Cook Islands, Easter Island, Hawaii, and even New Zealand were growing sweet potatoes centuries before Christopher Columbus or any other European knew about the Americas.
Hmm.
How these sweet potatoes made it all the way from Central or South America to these islands in the Pacific Ocean is a bit of a mystery. These potatoes are some of the strongest pieces of evidence that there might have been actual interactions and trade between
Mhm.
Polynesians and South Americans long before European contact.
I mean, I would believe it because like the Polynesians were getting like around, on their boats, like because like they colonized like these islands. I mean, is colonized the right word? Can I use that word? Yeah, like they got like around on these islands, like it's not impossible to think that like they could get all the way over here and like traded and like came back.
On top of this, the word for
I mean, like if you guys see my last video, that's just like if you're not white, it doesn't mean you can't do it.
sweet potato in Polynesian languages and South American
You don't. It's
languages
not like
are
you don't have the power
suspiciously
to do it.
similar, suggesting a shared origin.
Mhm.
Perhaps some canoes from the Polynesian islands, like Easter Island, traveled to South America,
Yeah.
or perhaps the dispersal of this crop occurred naturally, and the language thing is a weird coincidence. The point is we don't know
That's a
exactly,
big
and the whole
coincidence.
Trans-Pacific sweet potato debate remains as this kind of unresolved mystery.
Hmm.
Hammurabi's shoe return. This refers to one of the Mari letters, a series of clay tablets in Syria documenting written conversations sent and received by the king Zimri-Lim. A rather curious letter records an interaction between King Zimri-Lim and the king of Babylon, Hammurabi. Yes, that Hammurabi. In the letter, it states that Hammurabi received a pair of Cretan leather boots or sandals as a gift
Mhm.
from Zimri-Lim, but Hammurabi returned them.
Who that seems like a terrible gift. Like even back then, like
These boots
all
would have
right,
been a rather
all
fancy and
right. Where was I again? All right. Yeah, I have like sending shoes as a gift seems like a really terrible gift. Like even back then, like you could have given like Kim gold. Like what is it like? How? Yeah, how wasn't it like during like the Bronze Age? Was it? Yeah, you could have given like other things like gold, like a chariot, like what shoes, like that seems kind of insulting.
expensive gift,
No wonder he returned it.
especially to transport so far. So it begs the question, why did Hammurabi return them? Were they too small or too big for his feet? As historian Eric Klein
Because it seems more like an insult.
points out, he could have at least regifted them. Had to do it to him.
Fair enough. Yeah,
Refers to
that's
the
true.
Gwynol lioness, a supposedly 5,000-year-old Mesopotamian statue allegedly found near Baghdad, Iraq. It is better known as the most expensive antiquity to be sold in an auction. In 2007, it was sold for $57.2 million.
Whoa.
Why? I have no idea, don't ask me. Somebody must really like their 5,000-year-old jacked furries. Throwing a king's arm in the trash.
Huh.
Possibly the oldest royal remains ever found was a skeletonized arm found in the tomb of King Jur by Egyptologist Flinders Petrie. Petrie gave the arm to fellow Egyptologist Emile Bruch, who supposedly promptly threw it away, thinking it was too drab for the museum to feature.
What?
Well,
What? What? How-
saber-tooth lips.
Wait, he's not going to go on about it? Like, what? What? That's. What?
Okay, this refers to a Paleolithic statuette from the prehistoric French site of Itzuits. The statuette has been lost since at least the early 20th century, so all we have of it are drawings based on the original. It depicts some kind of big cat, but what type of big cat is a point of contention. Most think it is a representation of a cave lion, but a small minority have posited that it might represent a saber-toothed cat, specifically a Homotherium, which is definitely the more intriguing possibility, as it would be the only eyewitness depiction of such a creature while it still lived. If this is in fact the case, it raises another question. Why are there no saber teeth? This
Mm-hmm.
oddity has spawned a theory that, contrary to most pop culture depictions, saber-toothed cats had fleshy lips that actually hid their long fangs in life. But this is a bit of an extrapolation based on pretty tenuous evidence. Cursed grilled cheese. This refers to a pretty funny Tumblr thread where users wanted
Oh.
to use the combined ingredients of the world's oldest cheese, a lump of 2,000-year-old butter, and pieces of 14,500-year-old bread from Jordan on an ancient non-stick frying pan discovered in Italy to make the world's oldest grilled cheese. The lost giant Aztec snake.
Where's the petition for that? Like I like the petition for about the water and the sewage water was disgusting, but I would sign the petition for this. Like, but the only thing is, who's gonna volunteer to have their stomach go on a wild ride?
Statue. This refers to a very enigmatic and poorly understood artifact. In 1824, the English naturalist William Bullock held a museum exhibition at the Egyptian Hall in London, England, titled Ancient Mexico. This exhibit primarily consisted of Aztec artifacts acquired by Bullock, such as authentic pottery and codices. However, the main features of ancient Mexico were several full-scale plaster casts of Aztec statues. These casts being based on the stone originals all the way back in Mexico. Two contemporary sketches exist of this exhibition, and we can see that almost all the statues are known to us. All but one, that is.
Mm-hmm.
The most eye-catching of the plaster statues is this incredibly large and fearsome serpent with a man's head in its mouth. Suspiciously, there are no references to this giant Aztec snake statue outside of Bullock's exhibit, and the original it was said to be based on has not been found.
Hmm.
Some have said it could have been straight up fabricated or invented by Bullock, but this seems unlikely to me. We know that pretty much everything else at the
Yeah.
exhibit was based on real, authentic
Like why would he like make all those ones real but like that one fake? Like he's always put a lot of work into it already. Like why is he just gonna make the last one like fake?
Aztec specimens, many of which we still have,
Hmm.
all except this one. Even the plaster cast appears to have gone missing, as contemporary sources report it was sold to a private collector after the exhibit ended, never to be seen again.
Hmm.
But, like, how does something this big get lost or misplaced?
Yeah.
It's all very weird and crazy that this huge badass snake statue has straight up disappeared from history, and no one knows any details about it or where it went. With hope, it's still collecting dust in the basement of some old English manor right now, just
Hmm.
waiting to be uncovered. Massive cookie jars. This refers to the plain of jars and louts,
Oh
scattered.
hey, if you guys didn't know, I'm actually Laotian, and those like like I've asked my parents about those like, and it's just like it's a very interesting like archaeological thing. Like the purpose is like unknown, like or even like who made them. Like I mean like do we know like when they were like approximately like built? Like they don't know like who built them or anything like that.
Scattered across the valleys and foothills of the Shanquan Plateau are
Hmm.
thousands of stone jars, some small and some truly gigantic.
My parents like would tell me like they were built like by the giants that inhabited the area. Like their mythology like said that. Like but also like look how many there are. Like obviously like some of them are like broken. They were destroyed during a war over there. But like look how massive these are. I think like a recent like I forgot what it was like a recent article said like they were actually used like to bury people and they found like bones in them or something like that. But like also some of them like obviously didn't have like any like bones in it. So like it's like they don't really know
They were
what it was
constructed by
actually
an
for.
unknown prehistoric culture between 1240 and
Yeah,
660 BC for an even more mysterious purpose. Some human skeletons were buried around the jars, while others have been found within them.
yeah.
A few show signs of cremation, so maybe the jars were prehistoric crematoriums. Most of the jars are unadorned, lacking any inscriptions or pictures,
Hmm.
all that is, save one, which has a pictogram of a frog like humanoid on it. The plain of jars are truly an archaeological mystery.
Hmm.
They obviously served a religious or spiritual function to bygone people, but we can't really say much beyond that.
Hmm.
Indiana Jones's gold idol is fake. In the first Indiana Jones film, the fictional archaeologist grabs a gold idol from an abandoned temple somewhere
What? Something from a movie is fake in real life? Oh my god!
in South America. This prop is actually based on the real Dumbarton Oaks birthing figure.
Oh, it's
This
actually
figurine
based
is
on
said to be a
something.
piece of pre-contact art depicting an Aztec goddess giving birth. Now, the Dumbarton Oaks figure has come under scrutiny, and it very well might be a clever fake. The provenience or origins of the artifact cannot be confirmed because it first appears on the shelves of an antiquity store in Paris, France. Additionally, recent microscopic
Hmm.
analysis of the artifact have shown that the incisions and drill holes on it were probably made by modern tools, not ancient ones. This is an
Hmm.
incredibly similar situation to the infamous crystal skulls reportedly discovered in Mesoamerica. Stone Age, personal massagers. There are several, interestingly shaped stone artifacts found in
Ah,
prehistoric sites all
yes.
over the world. Some were probably simply ceremonial or artistic in their purposes, while others,
That may be, but there's like always that 10%, that 10% that
seem to have been used for something else by our early ancestors. Yeah, I'm glad she's wearing gloves. Venus
hmm.
figurines are prehistoric selfies. This refers to a theory presented by anthropologists McCoy and McDermott to explain the puzzling Venus figurines. A collection of Stone Age statuettes with large breasts and hips, and often lack heads or faces. The scientists suggest that the Venuses look this way because they were made by prehistoric women looking down at their own bodies.
Yeah.
According to them, without mirrors, early humans
Okay.
had to rely on their first person perspective to describe themselves. And the reason why many of the figurines lack heads or faces is because the artists did not have mirrors to see their own faces.
Hmm.
To top it off, McDermott's paper had these really great visual experiments that essentially consisted of pictures taken from a woman's first person perspective, looking
Uh,
down at her own nude body. Other anthropologists have criticized this interpretation because prehistoric humans would have obviously had access to streams and puddles, which could have been
Hmm.
used as mirrors. The
Yeah.
last makiwatl. The makiwatl of
Oh, I know what
Mesoamerica
this one
was one of the
also.
most badass weapons in history. It essentially consisted of a wooden club held in one hand, with several obsidian blades as sharp as steel razors embedded in its sides. It
Like, wasn't there like an also like a Spanish account where like they said like these macuaros can actually they could decapitate a horse like in one swing, and just like that just seems crazy.
was said to be so sharp that some Spanish conquistadors reported it could cut the head off a horse with one
See,
strike, although this might be a bit of an exaggeration. The maquihuatl was the choice weapon of countless Aztec, Mayan, and Toltec elite warriors for centuries. So it might
hmm
be a little shocking to learn that up until recently, there was not a single surviving maquihuatl dating to the pre-Columbian era.
really,
Oh, there were replicas made centuries after European contact, but no authentic specimens from before. The last pre-Columbian maquihuatl was apparently housed in the Royal Armory of Madrid after Hernan Cortes sent it back to Spain as a prize of war, following his conquest of the Aztec Empire. Now, this is where things get a bit hazy and messy. The maquihuatl in question appears in a catalog of the armory in 1837 and in a photo taken in the late 1800s, alongside a suit of Japanese samurai armor
hmm.
and a Persian shield. And based on this image, the Madrid maquihuatl looks way longer than any previously known one. To me, it almost looks like Guts' Golden Age arc sword.
Hmm.
Some experts have suggested that this specimen in the Madrid Royal Armory represented a rare two-handed version of the weapon, almost like a European longsword. The armory, along with
I
the
mean, if you
unusual
think about it, like I mean, look at Europe and like their weapons and swords. Like they had obviously had very different variations of that. What they had like the bastard sword, the long sword, the short sword, and like many other weapons. Like it's not too strange to think about like Mesoamericans would have had like also had like different variations of the macuatl also. You know.
last maquihuatl burned down in 1884,
Uh,
meaning this elusive two-handed variant has been lost to time. Some have suggested that it might have served a purely ceremonial purpose, but
mhm.
with no artifact to examine, it's hard to say. Thankfully for us, however, recently a second, and maybe even a third authentic pre-Columbian maquihuatl was unveiled within the Museum of the Templo
Oh,
Mayor in Mexico, bringing the number of known surviving maquihuatls back up to one, and maybe even two, since 1884. And there
oh,
you
that's
have it,
cool.
the archaeology iceberg. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. Tell me what
Right.
you thought of.
That's that was that was all very interesting, and oh, we're finally done. Thank God. All right. Oh God. It's been a long journey. Like for anybody that's been watching my videos, thanks for sticking around. If you guys are new, please hit the like and subscribe for me. And I'll be coming out with newer content soon. I'm gonna do a couple more reaction videos. I, I might try to do a gaming video. I've never done a gaming video before. I might try that out. Try to see pick from one of my games I'm gonna play. I've got some new games. There was some sales recently on Steam. I picked up a few new games. Haven't had the chance to play them, but yeah. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And yeah, see ya.